Our startup is constantly evolving, and we need a website that can do the same. We use Wix Video to Our startup is constantly evolving, and we need a website that can do the same. We use Wix Video to Our startup is constantly evolving, and we need a website that can do the same.
Testing. Let's see, make sure my mic is on. Let me know when you guys can see me. Let me know when you can hear me. And in the meantime, I'm going to let Facebook and Instagram know. All right, let's see. Okay, my mic sounds cool. All right. Give me a second. Let me post online and let them know. Can you guys see me clearly? Because it looks like my video is fuzzy. Let me know. What's up? What's up? All right. This is my first time, you guys. I'm running my feed through Zoom. So this is my first time doing this like this. Okay. You can see and hear me clearly. Cool. Yeah, it looks fuzzy on my end. I don't know what that's about, but let me see. Cool. All right. Facebook has been notified. Instagram has been notified. Peace, family. Peace. Earl was good. Black and silver. Set was good. Let's see. Much love, Damon. I appreciate you. And let's see. I wish you guys could see me clearly. Maybe because you're running through Zoom. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Should I I think I'll just run it from here. Because Zoom is recording. Let me make sure Zoom is recording and I can, just repost it if anything. Let's just make sure we're recording. I'm live on YouTube. Okay. Record on the cloud. All right, cool. So I'm recording on Zoom. So what I'll probably do, because the quality on YouTube is not that good, is I'm here with you guys live and we will chop it up and have the conversation. I'll do the presentation here, and then I'll come back and I will, add the original video so that the video is a little bit more clear. Because much love, poets. I appreciate you for the super chat. Because the thing about it is I have a whole presentation and it's going to be connected to my keynote. So I want to make sure that you guys can see all of the video and all of the content clearly there. I don't want you guys to not be able to see everything. What's up, Zabriel? How you doing? But peace to everybody in the chat room. Okay, you guys can see me. So hopefully once I start the presentation, everything will be clear. And let me just bring my keynote up real quick. I gotta make sure I got my affairs in order one time. So give me just a second. And there's a little learning curve for me, you guys, because I'm doing this through Zoom. So bear with me if I have any glitches, but I tested it out earlier and I think I got everything down packed, so we should be good to go. I also want to give, people trickling in a little bit of time. I know it's evening time. People are probably eating dinner and whatnot. So I have put together a presentation for you guys. I took some slides out. Let me bring it back up. Hang on. I'm closing out some of the pages on my computer, so maybe that will make it a little bit more clear. Much love, the guy from Texas. I appreciate you, that guy. And everybody, okay, I'm crystal clear now. Cool, wonderful. I'm gonna try to monitor the chat room, but I can let you guys know I'm not really that good at monitoring the chat while I speak, because I don't want my message to be, to get off course. And that happens when I deal with the chat room. So I'll try to interact with you guys as much as I can. Much love, Zabriel. I love you. Thank you. I appreciate you for the super chat. I'm going to try to engage you guys, and I will try to stay abreast with the trolls, because the trolls love me. But if it gets a little hectic in there, just y'all hold me down in the chat room. And if one of my previous admins, if one of you sisters comes in, I forgot to reach out to you guys because I've been kind of juggling a few things. But okay, somebody said if anybody needs a little clarity, adjust your settings to 720. Maybe that's what I need to do. Let's see. Yeah, hold me down, Queen Nicole. Much love to everybody in the chat room. Let me shout y'all out. Blu-ray TV, G Lazy. Is that real? G Lazy? We're gonna have to work on that. I'm messing with you, kind of. Let's see. Set my aunt was good. Queen, peace to the goddess. Christopher Wells, Zabriel, Paisha, Shetty, Martin Luther was good, my brother. Chef Akali, Ishmael, peace to the God. How you doing, brother? Damon Washington, Taharka was good. Betsy, Earl Williams, Black and Silver, I London, Jermaine, everybody in the chat room. Much love to you guys. I'm so glad to see you guys are all here. Yes, Laura Croft, Tomb Raider, Soul Raider in this BI. But peace and love, family. How y'all doing? It's me, Zaza. Today is Wednesday, September the 9th. 2020, I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And I want to say something real quick. I put this video up on Instagram earlier. When I talk about the things that I'm going to talk about today, celebrities, pop culture, politics, things that we pay a lot of attention to, but in the bigger scheme of things shouldn't really get a lot of our attention and our energy and our focus. And I'm going to get into politics, so just don't lose your cool yet. I'm going to bring this full circle. I feel like I'm wasting my breath. And so I have this whole thing where before I get into it, I'm like, Zaza, why are you doing this? Like, why are you talking about this? I don't really like talking about it. I know it's counterproductive from a spiritual perspective to focus on things that you really don't want to add energy to. But I also see what's happening in our culture. I see what's happening with our daughters. I see what's happening with our women in our music. And one thing that I've always told you guys is that when I was a young woman, in my teens in particular, and I was kind of veering off the tracks a little bit. And I wish that I had women in my corner and on my team that would have helped me to move myself in the right direction. Okay, it's crystal clear now. Right on. We in there now. I can see myself clearly. I wished that I had women around me that would have given me the wisdom and the jewels that I needed to avoid, some of the things that were going to come in front of me in my life. And thankfully, with the protection of the ancestors and the creator, I never really veered too far off the path, but I had plenty of females around me that veered very far off the path. So because of that, I'm always in this weird place because I don't really want to talk about a lot of the madness and the savagery in our culture, but I also still have to stay true to 17-year-old me and what I needed at that time, and that promise that I made to myself that I would never get in a position or become a woman that didn't identify with the sisters that were coming up behind me and the young women that are out here lost in the streets and trying to find their way. So as I continue to watch what's happening in our culture, what's happening in our music, what's happening in media and in pop culture, I have to be honest with myself and I have to stop and say, okay, let's deal with this real quick. I'm going to give you guys my perspectives, my research, my understanding. And if it's beneficial, cool. And if it's not, then that's okay too. You know what I mean? So I don't really like, because I've been under a magnifying glass as far as social media is concerned, and I know how it feels to have people pick you apart or pick apart every little thing that you say or magnify your shortcomings, or, I've been under that on a very small level. But I know how it feels to be misunderstood or to have people talking about you that don't know you at all. So I'm very conscientious of that when I talk about celebrities, because these people are people too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that our culture overall, and this is a two-sided thing, some of us worship celebrity culture, and then some of us hold them to standards that we ourselves are not willing to hold ourselves to. And like I said to somebody in my in the comments on the previous video, who said that, all about what celebrities should be doing. A celebrity may be well off as far as financially. They may have a lot of money, but may be spiritually or emotionally or mentally very lacking. You know what I'm saying? So the universe always balances things out. Now, it depends on how you see things. If you place more value and emphasis on fame and money, or if you place more value and emphasis on integrity, or the power of the mind or the power of the energy, etc. I don't really think one is more important. Well, yes, I do. Obviously, I think having the proper self-awareness and self-love is more important than all of those things. But again, for all of us, I've been seeing this meme floating around about LeBron James, and I'm going to talk about that later, as far as the protests in the NBA, and then eventually it all folded. And so people started talking about LeBron James, and it's like, bruh, LeBron James is like a cultural icon. He's proven himself time and time again, even if we might feel some type of way about how he moved with the with how the protest kind of fizzled out. Like, we gotta learn how to relax, you know what I'm saying? And put yourself in his shoes. How many of y'all are willing to give up your 50,000 or 100,000 or $200,000 salary for the greater good? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I want to say thank you. The first video is at 23,000 views right now, and I don't count views. But when I put that video out, I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna make a point to myself, and then I'm gonna come and I'm gonna tell them, I'm going to put the first video up, and the first video is probably going to do like 5,000 in the first week. And then I'm going to put the second video up where I talk about pop culture and where I talk about celebrities. And then it's going to do like 20,000 in the first week. And then I'm going to come back and be like, see, I told you. And unbeknownst to me and surprisingly to me, it has been very well received. The energy and the intention that I put into that video has been reciprocated with the comments and with the love and with the emails and with the inboxes. So I'm like, okay, we might have something here. So the fact that you sat down for 2.5 hours, or if you watch 30 minutes and then 30 minutes later, and actually took that information in, where I'm not talking about anything glitzy or glamorous. I'm talking about self-awareness, self-accountability, everything reflecting around you and me and our culture and our people. The fact that you guys actually watched it, and some people watched it multiple times and shared it, means everything to me. Because this right here, what we're going to talk about today, is not really what I want to focus on. It's not really what I want to talk about, but it has to be done. And this is when we talk about that balance, right? That equilibrium, that higher and that lower self. This is that me following the true, being true to my own personal teachings. Like, I don't want to be so spiritual that I'm no earthly good. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to say something, and I don't remember if I said this in the first video. I am not a YouTube commentator, although I do YouTube videos. I'm not a vlogger, even though I do vlogs. I'm not a social media influencer, even though I do influence people through social media. I am a writer. And I really need you guys to understand that. Much love, Jermaine. I appreciate you for the super chat. I'm a writer. I've written 2 books and 3 workbooks, all self-published, and I'm working on my 4th workbook. So I just want to like use that to set the tone. This is not a page for tea. You know what I'm saying? Zaza Ali doesn't do tea. I'm not here just to talk about trending topics. I only like to talk about pop culture if I can use it to convey a message and to reiterate that to my people. Okay, Jay Real said I did say that, so good. I'm just gonna reiterate that. But I don't do tea. So anything that I say today is not going to be about slandering or anybody or hating against anybody. I don't do that. If I did, I'd probably have 1 million followers right now. That's just not my thing. So let me see, did I have anything else I wanted to say before I get started? I think we'll go ahead and get started. Let me pull up my, looks good in the chat room so far. Let me share my page with you guys. All right, here we go. And this is, I want to dedicate this video to my goddaughter, who is upstairs, who is 17 years old, and my nieces who are in Vegas, and the young sisters that the fathers and the mothers and the coaches and the teachers reach out to me about, and even the young sisters that are watching this right now, who are getting lost in the sauce, so to speak, and who are trying to find their way and who may feel unloved or unvalued or unprotected. I want to dedicate this video to you guys. I understand, you know what I mean, what it feels like to try to find your value through what the world thinks about you, you know what I mean? And that is unfortunately a one-way trip to, you know, to trouble and to pain. And so that's the real thing that's frustrating for me as I look at this culture, and I call it a whole culture because it is a whole culture, stripper culture, whatever you want to call it. It's one thing to be true to who you are. It's another thing to not take accountability and responsibility for what your image actually is putting out into the ethers and the impact that that's going to have for generations to come. There is an African proverb that says that we are responsible for building and establishing ourselves and our civilization for 7 generations behind us. So, or in front of us, excuse me. So if we are accountable to and responsible for 7 generations ahead of us, you know, a generation is calculated by 25 years, I believe, if I remember correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong. Every 25 years marks, landmarks a generation, so to speak. So if we're responsible for 7 generations ahead of us, as women in particular, because I am a woman, what are we creating right now? What are we giving birth to right now as women, as we, you know, in what we represent in the overall collective consciousness and frequency that we are emitting as women? Let me stop this share real quick because I cannot see the chat room. So let's see. Let me find you guys and make sure you can still see me and you can still hear me. Okay, I know how to do this. I see that my screen is a little bit muffled again. I think it's because I'm going back and forth between Zoom and between Zoom and between YouTube. So y'all just bear with me. I think what I'm gonna do is just partially share my screen, and I think that should work. All right, what's up, Tamara? Peace, Queen. So let's do this. Oh, thank you. Let's see, share my screen. Okay, here we go. I'll do this like this so I can check in with you guys in the chat and make sure y'all are straight. So if you haven't watched part 1 of the video, you know, obviously I want you guys to stay with me right now, but please watch part 1 for context, because there may be a few moments where it feels like I'm firing off rounds, and you guys that know me know I can, you know what I mean? I can get a little passionate when I need to, but I laid a base with the first video talking about spiritual warfare, talking about self-love and self-accountability, and talking about this day and time where we are right now and how all of us are under divine judgment, and that there is a price to pay for us individually for not taking care of ourselves, for not prioritizing our mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being. There is a price to pay for us not taking care of our planet. And obviously we see the situation here in California, and I'm gonna show you guys a little short video real quick just to bring some context to this, what's happening here. But there's also a price to pay if the African proverb is true to life about us being responsible to 7 generations in front of us. And I'm specifically talking to women and how we are shaping and molding the minds of our daughters. There's a price to pay for us not accepting that responsibility and that accountability. There's a price to pay for female celebrities and female artists, particularly musicians, that are being used as well as using or objectifying themselves in a certain type of way that is harmful to our culture and to our women and to our children. There's a price to pay for that. And I'm not talking about from a religious perspective. I'm not quoting any scriptures. I deal, you know, specifically with spiritual and universal laws. So balance is everything. Like I said, in the Science of Sex workbook, there has to be an equal amount of indulgence as well as discipline. When society or civilization or cultures are too heavily indulgent and not disciplined and not cultivating an environment of discipline, that's when, you know, that's when the Moors fell off the map. That's when Kemet started to decline. You know what I mean? That's when Rome declined. Rome was always out there, but you know, they had specific parameters and things that they put into place in order to keep them in power. But the minute they started overindulging, and then the pedophilia became infiltrated throughout the different systems of government and systems of power. And I'm not saying that there wasn't always a pedophilia culture. I'm talking about over time, the things that wear and tear at societies that eventually bring them down. And right now, what we're seeing in America, with the infrastructure of this country actually falling apart, it's not only falling apart because America's being punished for what they did to the Native Americans or slavery. It's not only because that, it's because we are a very indulgent society that does not emphasize and enforce discipline, right? So I'm gonna get into that in just a second, but let me bring on the next slide. Y'all good in the chat room? Okay. This screen looks a little, doesn't look good, but I'm not gonna worry about it. All right. We are living in a day and time where the powers that be are intentionally activating the lower frequency in human beings. It is the gateway for negative energy. Most people are not mentally and spiritually on guard. We can no longer move, think, or accept being a downtrodden people. This moment in time requires a new mind, spiritual focus, and being at peace with yourself. We have to move from positions of power. We have to move from positions of power. God is our last line of defense. God expresses itself through the drama that unfolds throughout our lives. We are the reason that we know God is real. And I say that, and I want all my religious brothers and sisters to relax a little bit, because I got some comments about me using the terminology, the gods are at war. Well, let's be clear. If we have 8 billion people that are living on this planet, and all of us are victims of chemtrails and poison and toxin water, and you know what I mean? We're being told that we have to quarantine, and for a 3-month period, maybe 4-month period, people couldn't actually move, couldn't travel. That means that we are in submission, whether directly or indirectly, to government, to laws, medicine, science, whatever you want to call it. But that denotes a power system, a umbrella that all of us in one way or another are underneath, at least from the physical perspective, right? Now, depending on your level of consciousness, that's what's going to determine how free you are or how much of a slave you are. You see what I'm saying? Because like the movie Divergent, people are being shifted into categories based on consciousness, not based on wealth, not based on class, but based on consciousness. And so now we've seen this situation where in the midst of COVID-19, people that, celebrities that people usually look up to are unraveling right before our eyes, right? That's because we forgot to take the class. We forgot to read the books. We forgot to make it a point of emphasis and focus about spiritual prowess and about our mental acumen, because we live in a mental world. We live in a world that is ruled and that is based around consciousness. So when I say the gods are at war, depending on your state of consciousness, that is what is going to determine who and what your God is. You understand what I'm saying? So you can quote me scriptures until you're blue in the face, and you can tell me what's in Revelations or what's in Psalms, et cetera, et cetera. But then you turn around and you yell at me and you send negative energy towards me because I'm telling you that genetically modified food is not good for your health, or chemtrails is a real thing. People call me a pseudoscientist and all this different stuff. So I'm giving you factual information, but you won't take the information from me because I'm not your God. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll get into that in a little bit, but we are the reason that we know God is real. God expresses itself. God answers prayers through man and woman. You know what I'm saying? You've never had a prayer answered that wasn't delivered through another human being, that wasn't delivered through nature, that wasn't delivered through the experiences that we weave through every day. So that's another video for another time, but I wanted to start out to set the tone for that, because there are laws that we are not abiding by, spiritual laws. Somebody said something about sinning on my previous videos. The problem is sin. my definition and understanding of sinning, and much love to Neville Goddard, who is one of my favorite teachers. He breaks down the concept of sinning and righteousness and talks about how the real sin, or the original sin, is turning away from your higher self, and righteousness is actually seeking out the things that fulfill you, your divine purpose in life, right? So while we think sinning is about cursing, or about, whatever the sins, that you could possibly murder, and these different aspects, right? We got to change the way, again, going back to looking at things from a position of power. We have to change the way we think about God and the way we think about spirituality and religion. We are wired for well-being. We are meant to thrive. We are meant to live high vibration, high frequency, high quality lives. The sin is living a mediocre life. The sin is allowing yourself to stay at a job that is misusing you or oppressing you. The sin is staying in a relationship with someone who is dimming your light, or who is taking you away from your highest and best self. And you consciously are involved in a relationship that that's what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? So let me carry on. Check you guys out in the chat room and make sure you guys are okay. Y'all good? Much love, Marvin. My books are all on my website. I put the link in the description. Everybody good? Okay, cool. I check on you guys, but y'all hold me down in the chat room. So this is the situation right now in California. This is a video today in San Francisco. And if I wasn't here, I would be like, no, this is Photoshop. I'll play it again because it's real quick. This is the situation in California right now. Woke up this morning, the windows were orange. Orange. It's still orange outside right now, right? By the way, I meant to do this video this weekend, but it was hot as fish grease in the Bay Area. And you don't have to have AC out here. So nobody really has AC in the Bay Area. My intention was to get this video posted on Saturday, but there was no way I could sit down and talk for any extended amount of time without sweating profusely and looking crazy on film. So pardon me for taking longer than I originally intended. But I put this video up specifically about the California fires because, some people felt some type of way about what I said in the previous video about that moniker of I can't breathe, right? That are you really saying that by people saying I can't breathe that they actually started the fires in California? Like, are you crazy? Again, consciousness creates reality. I want to do more in-depth videos and talk a little bit more about this, where I can try to help people get a better understanding of that spiritual concept and frequency and vibration and how our thoughts are actually creating things. And then when you add 20,000 people or 100,000 people or 1 million people globally that are focused intentionally on one thing, that actually moves things into existence. But there's this house by Grand Lake, right? There's dogs down. You guys got, pardon me. There's this house over by Grand Lake, right? And the house has, is there somebody here? Yeah. Okay, somebody's at the door. There's a house over by Grand Lake, right? And the house has a tag that says, I can't breathe. So and it's a really big sign, right? I was really thinking about that when I was looking at that sign and I drove past there. And then I look at the situation that's happening right now in California. I don't know how, or I shouldn't say I don't know how we don't make the connection. I get how we don't make the connection. But at the same time, I really think we need to start exploring how the chants, and if you study Tibetan culture, or if you study different cultures that really hone in on the importance of chants, the importance of affirmations and whatnot. Don't worry, I'm not gonna get you on film. Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen. But if you study different cultures that emphasize affirmations and chants, right? If you are in a meditative zone for half an hour or for 2 hours, and you are constantly reiterating a certain energy, a certain frequency, a certain chant, you're going to start some things in motion that are going to create some things in your life. So if we multiply that by 1 million people around the world, right? And specifically California, and I said this in the last video, that California specifically, because it is at the forefront of creating culture. I believe that has a lot to do with what's happening right now, obviously with Nipsey, with Kobe, and with brother Chadwick. I believe that California is under a certain divine judgment, because this is where culture is created, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, and then you add the chanting of "I can't breathe," which is a very low vibrational statement, and it's a negative affirmation, but it is an affirmation. I mean, we have to really, really start looking at what's happening on our planet and the bigger role that's playing itself out. In the Bible, it says that God was going to send fiery serpents. And those fiery serpents now are being represented in a lot of different ways, i.e. the police, and as well as nature. You know what I mean? And nature is swallowing a lot of us up whole, a lot of our, the environment and the land whole, right? So I wanted to show you guys the situation in LA, or not in LA, in the Bay Area. This is San Francisco, because it's kind of going to set the tone for the rest of the stuff that I'm going to say. And let me just check you guys out, make sure y'all good in the chat room. Cool. So I put this picture up on my Instagram, right? I just put a few slides up because I want to make a couple of points about a few things based on the conversation that we had in the last video. So I see a lot of brothers and sisters wearing "I can't breathe" t-shirts, which is a very low frequency, low vibration, negative affirmation. Please don't kill us. And you see these babies here. This is very low frequency, low vibration affirmation, right? And no disrespect to these babies. Obviously, I would never try to use children to make a point, but their parents put them online. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of, there's merchandise being created. There's culture being created. There are things that are being created around this very negative, low vibrational frequency, and our language is what is creating a lot of the problems that are happening on our planet. We don't think we're powerful enough to mentally and spiritually and energetically move white people. We don't think we're powerful enough to set off an earthquake. Our ancestors understood who we really are. We don't think we're powerful enough that the atoms of our planet will culminate in a way that the guardian angels that are among us, the light bearers that are among us, right? The prophets and the prophetesses, the gods and goddesses that are among us, because we are here, are not astute enough in order to move things around with our minds and with our hearts. We don't really know who we are. Can you imagine God wearing a t-shirt saying, "Please don't kill me"? So when people come back and say, "You're an anti-masker, you don't know shit." Why are y'all listening to her? She only has 34,000 followers. Don't tell me what the white man said. Tell me what God said. We're way too caught up in this low vibrational frequency, and the rulers of this world, the gods of this world, which is dying. So you see their world dying, but you still want to throw their facts in my face. You still want to tell me what Sanjay Gupta and CNN said. So on part 3, I'm going to I'm going to talk about a lot of the stuff that I don't really like to talk about, or that I intentionally don't use my platform for, the science, the real science of what's happening behind the scenes, because there is something very evil and wicked And even if you don't know the science, the fact that we're not picking up on it as a culture is a problem. Let me stop my share so y'all can look at me real quick. There is something very evil and vindictive and vile that is happening behind the scenes around the world. And the fact that we, Black people in America specifically, but Black people, Indigenous people, African people around the world, even if you don't know the science, even if you don't have all of the factual information, you haven't read the books, your antenna should be warning you something's wrong. Something's not right. The fact that we have lost connection to that energy, to that God consciousness, is the reason for the necessity for this video, because we're so wound up in the programming. I'm going to show you guys the programming, right? We're so wound up in the programming that we can't even see what's happening over our eyes. So don't argue with me about masks if you don't understand how your immune system works. You're wasting your time. Y'all get in the chat room? Everybody good? All right, cool. So let's get into this. So this is a video, and I'm only going to play a little bit of it. I got this off of Instagram, I think off of maybe Red Pill's page. This video is like 4.5 minutes. I'll play about 2 minutes of it, of rappers, hip hop artists calling on the name of Donald Trump. Over the past 25 years, different rappers shouting him out. You know, I want to be rich like Donald Trump, or, you know, talking about his hotel or talking about different moves he's made, right? Nobody ever saw this dude coming. There's absolutely no political acumen, no history in politics, never gave me any inclination that he was interested in a politician. And I really don't even think he was going to win. I think he just ran on a fluke. And because the climate in the country was what it was, it propelled him into actually, you know, once he sat down and met the people that he needed to meet and kiss the rings that he needed to kiss, propelled him into being president. But take a listen to this clip real quick. I'll play about 2 minutes of it, and then I'll come right back.
Yo, Ice, I did a concert in the White House, and after that, me and Donald Trump hung out. I gotta say what's up to Digital Underground, and Humpty Hump, cause he making more than Donald Trump. Beat was going off like Don Trump gets checks. I got smoked, I'm well known like Donald Trump. Lick me up and lick me up just to get a pump. Forget Black Caesar, brothers call me Black Trump. With no cash in my pocket, than Donald Trump. Soon to be paid like Donald Trump. But yo, guess who's the Black Trump? You can boom rock and jump to the sounds I pump, but I ain't quitting till I'm shitting on Donald Trump. Got a business mind, so if I lose the funk, I'll still be in the house getting paid like Trump. New Trump, brand new funk, keep a pocket full of California stuff. That 95 shit gon' always rock. From 96, we gon' flip the script and break about some new Trump. Got the room stuck, I smoke and make dope like Trump. Now I ain't talking about no bullshit ass flipping. I'm talking Trump type access. They coming off a game that I'm in Trump. Nah, Trump change, rather not Trump change, Trump change. I'm talking Donald Trump change. I'm talking, you know, Trump change. I'm just trying to get rich like Trump. And hop to the Donald Trump rap news. Niggas always expect to see us two together stable. The best couple they seen since Trump and Marla made. The new Don Trump is Bill Gates. Not because his occupation is cause we respect his cake. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me hear that. Up in your ass over the hump. We're trying to get money so we can be living like Trump. You can talk Trump, real estate, stocks and bonds.
So I know certain people are going to know exactly what I'm saying, and then other people are going to think I'm crazy, and it's fine because you know who you are. You know, if we understand, then we understand. For a long time or ongoing duration in our culture, this is somebody who we have been calling down on, mentioning this dude's name, right? And having a collective energy, not to mention him doing, you know, The Apprentice and the different TV shows and whatnot. But I just really wanted to reiterate the power of our language, the power of our words, and to be very mindful how we move as a culture. And I cannot say this enough. If you are marching and if you are protesting, or even if you are, just, meditating or praying or whatever, when it comes to the condition of our people and our culture here in America, we have absolutely got to change the narrative from being the oppressed people and being the downtrodden people and expecting for people to do things that we ourselves have not even done for our own culture, which I'm going to get into in just a minute, and start operating and speaking and moving from a position of power. All right. Check y'all out in the chat room. Make sure y'all good. Y'all cool? All right, cool. So this is, I think this might be in New York. There are Black Lives Matter street, what do I call it? Black Lives Matter being painted over, in different areas. There's like 4 of them here in the Bay Area. Big street signs that have Black Lives Matter spelled out, right? As a symbolic gesture of collective unity, as a symbolic gesture of, we are here with you, we are with you, et cetera, et cetera. And while I think this is great on a surface level, it doesn't really mean anything in the bigger scheme of things. And I, again, for us as a culture, we really have to be careful because this is how we get hoodwinked. Yes, I'm happy that the Confederate statues came down and that I'm, see the Black Lives Matter, especially here in Oakland, everywhere. There is a much bigger and important conversation that needs to have. I'm not really impressed by Black Lives Matter being written on the ground. That doesn't impress me. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a good move for the statues to be taken down, but this doesn't really impress me, particularly in a place like Oakland, where homelessness is completely out of control, where Black people are being pushed out of the city and having to move to surrounding cities like Tracy and, Stockton and Manteca and even further out because they can't afford the cost of living here. How the Black culture, the substance and the essence of the Black culture here is being highly affected by gentrification, by very high rent costs, the cost of living, and a lot of the stuff that a lot of the cities are dealing with. I mean, I appreciate you writing Black Lives Matter in the street. But in the bigger scheme of things, this doesn't really mean anything or have any value to me, especially because Black Lives Matter, while it is a statement for all of us to band together and to kind of stand under the umbrella in order to move the culture forward, in order to talk about oppression, talk about police brutality. The fact that you have to keep saying my life matters is trying to convince people of something that you yourself should be already convinced of and comfortable with that in itself, right? I'm talking about our collective consciousness. So we have to be mindful again about the language that we use, and even the organization Black Lives Matter. I talked about this some years back. What does Black Lives Matter actually do besides respond to police brutality? They've raised enough money over the past 10 years where they probably could have set up just in Oakland alone. And I know they have a chapter here. The sisters that started the group are from here. They have raised enough money where they could have put some of that money to the side and created a manufacturing sector or created housing, low-income housing. We should have a 15-unit apartment complex somewhere in East Oakland or somewhere in the West that are predominantly Black communities, or a grocery store. There's food deserts out here, places where people can go get healthy, clean food. Do we have that here? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, but I don't think so, right? So the institution, because Black Lives Matter is an organization and hopefully becoming an institution, what has it really done for our community and for our people aside from responding to police brutality? I talked to my friend in LA when the brother recently got killed in LA. And he said Black Lives Matter was there, like they rounded up the people and got there. They, you know, their organization, the Los Angeles chapter, rounded up a bunch of people, and they were there on the scene so quick, which is efficient, right? And which is good. Now, if we could just rally together to create businesses or rally together to help single mothers who are struggling to get to and from work or don't have money for childcare or lost their jobs because of COVID-19 or are struggling to pay the bills or food stamps got cut off. If we could get Black Lives Matter, the organization, to actually rally and do things that are proactive and that are offensive opposed to just being defensive, then I may give them a little nod. But until then, I have not really been impressed with the organization. And I want to be clear, I understand that everybody that is hashtagging Black Lives Matter or that is saying Black Lives Matter or that is not necessarily underneath the banner of the organization. It's a label that we've all kind of tethered ourselves to, right, in order to represent the same cause. And I don't want to take anything away from the importance and the value of that. But in the bigger scheme of things, when it comes to on the ground, the condition of our people on the ground, we are spending way too much time on the defensive and not on the offensive. And I'm gonna really hone in on that point in just a second. So Brother Robert Smith, who is a Black billionaire in America, has been gaining some traction talking about reparations, right? If you as a white person, or you as an Asian, or you as a Latino, if you really want to help Black people, number one, lend your conversation, lend your social media pages, lend your perspective to the conversation about reparations, right? If you are, and going back to the symbolic gestures, right? Because white people, I need y'all to understand, y'all are under a different type of divine judgment than the rest of the world. White people are under a different type of divine judgment for the rest of the world. So if our culture is under divine judgment, and it is, for our lack of personal accountability, for our lack of care and concern for our daughters and our sons, for our putting the savage aspect of our culture on display for the world and then leading the world in madness, right? We're not only leading the world with madness, but I'm making a point. If we are under divine judgment for our shortcomings, and we are, then white people, you are under a different type of divine judgment. There is a price that has to be paid for what your culture and your ancestors have done and continue to do to this day. So it's great that you march and it's great that you protest, but what we really need you to do is talk to the human resources at your company and in your corporations and start hiring more Black workers. Make it a prerequisite. This is one of the things that I really feel like the NBA players really kind of dropped the ball on. The demand should be for a certain percentage, one of the demands, it's just my opinion, a certain percentage of the jobs in the stadiums across the country to be specifically allocated towards Black people. So if 70% of the NBA, I believe that's the number, is Black, right? Then why can't we say 30% of the jobs in the corporate aspect of the NBA, as well as in the lower ring type jobs within stadiums, et cetera? Why can't you mandate or make them mandate a specific percentage of jobs for our people? That's real-time assistance and beneficial to our people. I'm going to talk about what they settled on so far later, but Brother Robert Smith, and talking about reparations for white people and Asians who want to try to help us to combat injustice, this is what you can do. Hire Black people. Create training programs in your industry if you're a carpenter or if you're an electrician, where you take young brothers or young sisters out of the hood or out of the community. You intentionally go out into the world with the intention of helping our people. I'm not saying you have to put on a cape and turn into Black people's superhero. No, but there's debts that have to be paid, and they don't all have to be paid in money. You know what I'm saying? You can pay through service. So And just as far as the conversation on reparations, we need lawyers that can actually go into the courts. We need to hear from them. We need people that have actually been in the system, that know what it will take, people that have international understanding of international law, understanding of international court systems, right? It's great that we have a lot of YouTube commentators and social media influencers and whatnot that talk about this stuff. We need people that actually have the know-how and the experience, that can go in those courtrooms, not on social media, that can actually go in those courtrooms, that can sit in those conferences and have the conversations with the people that we need to have the conversations with in order to move the ball forward. The same way we have agricultural farmers that know how to move with food, that understand the science of food. We need them on their square. The same way we have attorneys that focus specifically on police brutality and abuse, we need them on their square. We have this thing now where celebrities in particular are the talking heads, so to speak, of abuse or problems in our community. And throughout history, and I'm going to say this, and it probably will sound funny, but it's okay. There was never really a period in history when we looked to the entertainers in our society to lead us. This is new. Entertainers throughout the annals of history were entertainers, poets, songstresses, poems, right? Or singers, actors. That was their role. And some of them were eloquent and powerful and moved the culture through their own personal skill and talent. But throughout history, never has there been a time when the culture actually looked to entertainers for guidance on matters of politics and matters of science and matters of, and that's not to say that some of our entertainers are not qualified, because I do believe some of them are. But as a people, right? You don't support the people that actually do the research or that actually know what they're talking about, but you will support the celebrity for putting up a post or hashtagging something that's trending. It's a little, it's an inconvenient truth. White people have gentrified Black Lives Matter. It's a problem. This is an article that was on msnbc.com. It says, in July, a white woman folded her body yoga style into the asphalt onto the asphalt of a Portland street, her breast and vagina exposed before a line of police officers. She said the movement of racial justice provoked a very deep feminine place within her, and that her nakedness is political. I mean, what are we doing here? Is this serious? Is this real? How does our momentum for social justice and for equality and for stopping the killing of our men turn into this? This is why I say, when you tether yourself to a organization or to a title, which is what she's done, which is what they're talking about, white people have gentrified Black Lives Matter. No, white people have tethered themselves to the title and the original agenda. And because the title and the original agenda was not rooted in a proactive perspective, meaning build communities, meaning build minds, meaning build men, meaning build children, right? It's not a proactive organization. It is a defensive organization that is fighting against the system, and it utilizes its resources to do so. That's a great thing. But now everybody that's tethered to a frequency that matches that is going to get on board. Do you think she would have did that if we were out in the streets having a job fair, talking about hiring Black people, which she have showed up? You know what I'm saying? So again, the language, the things that we connect ourselves to, we have to be very, very careful about that. Y'all good in the chat room? All right, cool. So let me just preface this video, because this is Kia, who was a rapper who became famous for, this is just a little short clip, a 1-minute clip, who became famous for her song, My Neck, My Back, right? And she's talking about the Cardi B situation and the backlash, the little backlash that came, as a result of this video, which I'm going to talk about, right? Now, there's very strong vulgar language in this video, and I was teetering on not playing it, but I'm going to play it because I want to make a point. I was looking for Black women in Hollywood that were speaking to the imbalance or the nature of how women are being represented in pop culture. I was searching for sisters, actresses, artists, rappers, that you don't necessarily have to be anti-Cardi B or anti-sexual, overt sexuality in music, but to actually say, hey, we might want to be careful here. You know what I'm saying? Just like with Black girls were online sucking cucumbers and that shit started trending. None of our soul sisters, I think Jill Scott may have said something, and I think it was, people were kind of making the correlation between her video that went viral, that was trending, with her, pretending to be doing oral copulation on stage. And she just kind of said like, hey, I'm a performer. I never knew that was going to be on social media, but this is not a good look, right? But it was pretty much quiet. A few other sisters, made a couple of comments, but it was very quiet when it came to that particular subject. So again, I was looking for sisters that were well-known or that had a large following that was giving us a different perspective. And it was very few and far in between. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to warn you guys. She uses very strong, explicit language, but I think what she's saying, the point of what she's saying is important.
Like to promote, when it comes to the girls, they want to promote lick me dry, yum yum sauce, wow. But if you put out When I Meet My King, it don't get nobody. They don't want to play that. The radio station don't want to play that. They don't want to play You My Girl. They don't want to play Respect Me. They want to play My Neck and My Back. So when it comes to the women, it's like either your pussy's ass is out. That's the only way we're gonna acknowledge you. You make a song like that, you bring a pussy all in here, we're gonna play it on the radio, we're gonna play the video all day. But if you make a song like Respect Me, it's China. So they don't have nothing else to do but bend over. And the hoes is willing to bend over. I wasn't willing to bend over, so they blackballed me. If I was sucking dick and bulldagging and eating pussy and butt naked, let Kay Ashley baby, I'd have been on. But because I didn't want to do that, they said, put that bitch over there in the corner.
Now, if her language offends you, then imagine what it's like for a 15-year-old young Black girl that's listening to songs that's saying there's some holes in this house. And all throughout the song, not just this song, but most of the songs that these female rappers are putting out now is promoting prostitution. I don't know when it became cool when it became fly to be a prostitute. Did I miss something? And I'm not knocking, no judgment, you know what I'm saying? But like, let's be real about the situation and what that life comes with. When did that become something fly to promote in our music? Who grows up and at 10 is like, yeah, I think when I'm 10, I'm gonna hit the block and, make my money off tricks. Who does that? Now our daughters are aspiring to be, not even realizing it, not even conscious of it, aspiring to be strippers and aspiring to be, I have a sister, and she's probably watching this right now. If she's not watching, she will. That's been going back and forth with me on Instagram. I'm assuming she's a real person. She sent me a picture of her holding a stack of money that says she has an OnlyFans account and that she makes, I think she said $5,000 a week, right? So I was like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? That's all I said. So she responds and says, well, why do you have a problem with it? I never said I had a problem with it, right? She's projecting onto me now, right? So she said, let me bring my screen up real quick. So she said, well, what do you think about it? It doesn't matter what I think about it. What matters is what you think about it, right? She wants to know why I have a problem, or do I have a problem with her using her sexuality? And I don't know the extent of her OnlyFans account. You know what I mean? If I don't know who she is, right? But the fact now that this is a thing where choosing publicly to expose yourself sexually to make money, and then expecting the world to support you in that, and calling it shaming, if somebody actually has something to say about it, is a problem. You know what I'm saying? And again, to that sister, as well as all of the sisters that are watching this, that are strippers or have been or might be or aspire to that life, I don't have if I wasn't exposed to what's happening in your world, I wouldn't even have an opinion. The fact that now our culture is becoming so promiscuous, and our culture is inviting this very low frequency, low vibration language conversation. Imagine if, I was just talking about the power of words, right? Chanting Donald Trump, chanting I can't breathe, right? So we're chanting negative affirmations. We're putting things out in the universe that are eventually coming back to us. Imagine the repercussions if 100 million or 50 million or 20 million people. I think I saw a post where it said WAP was downloaded or streamed 100 million times, if I remember correctly, right? I think I even have a slide about that in here somewhere. But imagine what the collective consciousness is creating when people are vibing to the frequency and the energy of celebrating being hoes. Let me keep going. Let me check on y'all first, make sure y'all straight in the chat room. Y'all good? Okay, looks good. You cannot objectify yourself and then get upset when you get treated like an object. That's a fact, Chloe. And Chloe is quoting me from an article that I did in a hair magazine some time ago. But let me get back to, let's get back to it. So, everybody was talking about the movie Cuties, which is set to premiere September 9th, which was today. I'm not sure if it came out or not, right? So you look at this picture with these young women in extremely overtly sexual positions, particularly the two Black girls. Obviously, the young sister has her legs open, and then the other one is on her knees. But all of them are way too sexual for their age, right? So I looked up the sister who her name is Maimouna Dakour, and I'm probably not saying that right. She's a beautiful sister. I believe she's from Africa. And she was talking about the response to the backlash. And she was saying, you guys have got it all wrong. The reason why I did this movie is because I want to bring exposure to the over-sexualization of girls. It sounds like she had a good intention, but the problem is that's not how the human brain works. That's not how people are wired. And we live in an environment now where we know the FBI says that there are 4 million pedophiles in America. And that's not even including around the world. Everybody now is talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole situation with the 39 girls or 39 children in Atlanta. Like, sex trafficking and pedophilia is a very, 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 very serious global issue. And while the Me Too movement and the rape culture, all of that stuff is coming to light, wait until the ramifications of pedophilia and what's happening in the higher echelons of power and the upper echelons of fame and money, because all things are being revealed right now, right? It's funny to me how negligent a lot of celebrities are when it comes to this particular topic, because they know that it's happening, right? But back to my point. So the sister said the whole point was to bring attention to the over-sexualization of young girls. With all due respect to you, Queen, and I have not seen this movie, this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. This image right here is an image from the trailer. And I didn't want to play the trailer. Or did I? Did I put the trailer? Well, this is an image from the actual film. You can see the girl here has her finger in her mouth, and she's obviously standing, and then she's got her finger in her mouth, and then her. I mean, it's just this seems like a pedophile's dream to be able to view this, to be able to experience this on film, right? The power and the impact of visuals. We talk about left, right brain, how the left brain works and how the right brain works, right? And African people, melanated people, indigenous people are naturally a right brain people, right? So visualization is important for us. We learn better through visualization, through artistry, right? Through creativity, right? Visual creativity, right? So if this is what our daughters are watching, these videos of our women, right? One of whom is married, on the left, this is the visual representation of power, the visual representation of womanhood, the visual representation of sensuality. Then it would make sense why a woman like this sister, right, and a lot of feminists who adhere themselves to this idea that we can take our power back through sexuality, right, which there's some truth in that, but trying to use the same methodologies that the people who have been oppressing and abusing you for 400 plus years, now you're trying to take their methodologies, which is pimping you, which is raping you, which is only valuing you for your physical body, right? Trying to use those same methodologies to somehow empower women is retarded, with all due respect. So, this is when I search cuties on Netflix, right? I'm going to show you guys a few things throughout this video that show you how the programming works, right? So I pulled up cuties, and it brought up the little trailer and the information about the film, right? But then at the bottom, you see where it says more like this right here. So the algorithm of Netflix, depending on what it is that you're searching for, will give you other suggestions that are in line with what the original intention of this film is, right? So we have a couple of movies that don't really seem like much, but then there's two images down here at the bottom that are clearly very sexual in orientation. So my question for the sister, and granted, she made a deal with Netflix once Netflix actually became, the owner or the partner. There were certain things that were probably out of her control. She said she didn't know they were going to use that image, which I'm not really, you know what I'm saying? That's not really working for me, but because it's your content. This is your intellectual property. This is what you're giving the world. You should have had a say so in how the portrayal or the imagery that was going to be used to promote this film. If your intention was to bring awareness to what's happening, then that should have been reflected in the cover for this movie. And it's not. And it doesn't matter if you knew or if you didn't know, you gave birth to this, right? So down here at the bottom, this is the programming right here. Because how many children or pedophiles or random people that don't really think on their own accord and that don't really have their own minds will go from cuties to this, right? This is the programming, and I'm going to show you guys this in a few different ways. Now, Chocobars, who I follow begrudgingly sometimes on Instagram, posted this. I was debating if I was even going to do this video, because like I said, I don't really like talking about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I had a whole situation for like 3 hours before I do this video. It's like, man, I'm wasting my breath. People are not listening. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm about to sit down for 2 hours and talk about stuff that I really don't want to talk about. all I want to talk about is, you know what I'm saying, protons and atoms and neutrons, the nerd in me, right? But I still recognize my responsibility. So I was going back and forth with doing this, right? Chaka Bars puts this post up and it just made my brain explode. This is only one of the clips that he put up, right? There was like a whole bunch of them from this feminist page. Unpopular opinion, it's actually really important that young women hear sexually explicit lyrics with agency from women instead of male rappers. What? Unpopular opinion. It's actually really important that young women hear sexually explicit lyrics with agency from women instead of male rappers. And there was a whole other diatribe of, you know, men say it all, men do it all the time, but it's a problem when women do it. Like, that's like us comparing ourselves to white people and saying, well, you know, white people do it all the time. That bar is so low. That's not a standard to aspire to because white people do it or because anybody else does it, especially if it's something that's harmful to our community. Who's raising these people? Where are these women coming from? So for the feminists specifically, and I went to the page that he tagged and I read and I was just like, I want to ask you, where are you at on abstinence? Why you never talk about it? What's your protocol for teaching our daughters and our women about abstinence? Because you do know abstinence prevents teen pregnancy, and you do know abstinence prevents sexually transmitted diseases, and you do know abstinence prevents you from getting your heart broke when you don't necessarily have to, right? We choose better when we take sex off the off the table for a second. And for the women that are watching this, the women, you know, I'll ask this question, and this is, I'm working on my fourth workbook, Keys to Womanhood, what every girl and young woman should know. If you as a woman really sat back and thought about your history of relationships with men, let me bring myself up real quick so y'all can see me. The number of relationships that probably should have just been friends. He should have just been your homeboy, but then y'all took it to the next level and now you busting his windows out his car. You know what I'm saying? Or now you his baby mama and you hate him, right? The number of relationships that we've had, sexual interactions that we've had, that if we put sex to the side for a minute and learn how to navigate the male-female dichotomy, learn how to have relationships with men outside of sex, because once sex comes into play, now you're in a whole different place emotionally and mentally, and maybe spiritually, depending on, you know what I'm saying, your understanding, right? So why is that not being taught in the feminist curriculum, a la Jada Pinkett Smith? I've heard the sister talk a lot about feminism and why she, brought her daughter into feminism, and why, where is the, and I'm saying this to all of the sisters that represent feminism, not just the celebrities. Where's the conversation about abstinence? Where's the conversation about discipline? Where's the conversation about self-control? How to love a man? How to pick a quality man. All of this stuff is stuff that I talk about, that I'm talking about in this workbook, that y'all better support me on. Keys to Womanhood, what every girl and young woman should know. How to pick a quality man, loving and respecting men outside of relationships. Self-responsibility and self-accountability. Why is that not a part of the feminist agenda? If it's important for young women to hear sexually explicit lyrics with agency from women instead of male rappers, which is one of the stupidest things I ever heard. And I actually thought about like looking her up on Twitter and like being like, what the hell is wrong with you? But then I thought about it, like, that would be a 100% waste of my time. You know what I'm saying? But if you represent, again, tying yourself to language, tying yourself to words, tying yourself to organizations, right? If you represent the feminist agenda, particularly Black feminists, celebrities, professionals, corporate women, stay-at-home mothers, where and what is your position about sexual control? It's not a bad thing. when we say we're taking back our sexuality as women, all right, cool, I'm all for it, 100%. And again, everybody has the right to live their lives and do what they want to do. It only becomes a problem to me when it starts affecting the broader culture, particularly our daughters. If we're going to talk about taking back your sexuality, right, which we need to do, if we're going to talk about the woman's right to express herself sexually in whatever capacity she wants, then why can't we talk about the importance of sexual discipline, understanding your physical anatomy and how your body works? You shouldn't even be online talking about young women need to hear about sexually explicit lyrics if you can't tell a woman what actually happens when a man is penetrating her and the effect that it's having on her as a vibrational being, what it's doing to her mind. If it's a savage and she having sex with a savage, the impact that it's gonna have on her. Because y'all all want to be savages right now, all right? That's the thing today. Why would you even tie yourself to that language? I'm a savage. What? No, I'm a goddess. I don't even play like that in song. This is the thing I was talking about. And if I bring this up, and we just have to, this is the reality that we're living in today, where this type of stuff is normal. Now, my question not for them, because let's be clear, I'm not focused or honing in on them. I'm focused and honing on to the women on this frequency. I'm focused and honing in on the young women that might potentially aspire to this frequency, because this is a frequency, right? So how do men growing up in this environment, how do our sons, my son, who is a teenager, and these young brothers that are trying to learn how to properly interact with women, how do our men and our sons, while in one breath, we're fighting rape culture, we're fighting male domination sexually, we're fighting quote unquote patriarchy, right? So how is a man and a young man supposed to know how to navigate and deal with women in this type of climate? When you can see this with no delay. So I'm talking to brothers now, whether I'm working with a client or doing a consultation, or brothers that I run into in the streets. And I'm talking to sisters, whether dealing with a client or dealing with somebody that I'm doing a consultation with, or somebody that I know personally. And I keep hearing this same story about how they cannot understand why we are so sexually forward and so sexually aggressive in how we interact with one another. I.e., I met a dude, and I'm not talking about me personally. This is a story from a friend, right? I met a dude on a dating site, and one of the first things that he sends me after we talk for a couple of days is a pic of his you-know-what, right? Out the door. So that's what you lead with? You lead with sex? You lead with your body? How many men have I talked to, my nephews and my cousins, that are like, man, Zai, you gotta talk about this, man. These women are out of control. I met a girl, and before I know it, the same day I met her, we exchanged numbers. That night, she's sending me full nudes. Well, of course she's sending you full nudes if she's competing with this. She know this is what's grabbing men's attention. This is what's grabbing the culture's attention. But this is nothing but a relationship that's probably going to end up in a baby mama, baby daddy, maybe court type situation. Maybe somebody walks away heartbroken. Now he hates women even more, or he disrespects women even more because she disrespected herself in his eyes. Human beings are an ecosystem. How we see each other, how we interact with one another is based on the collective consciousness. This is the trailer for P-Valley. I'm not going to play it only because I know I've been talking for a minute now. I started at 6 and I'm already at 1 hour and 26 minutes. You can go see the trailer on YouTube. It's the Stars. It's on Stars. But it's basically another film or a show on Stars about the strip culture down south. Go watch the trailer. This is programming. Yeah, it's film. Yes, we have, it's probably somebody Black behind the scenes that wrote a dope story that, maybe have been from that life or have certain type of experience. So they're getting put on. They've got a great story to tell about how now their show is on Stars and there's Black actors and Black actresses on film. So they making money. So there's things that can be celebrated, and we get lost in the sauce of seeing ourselves on film and totally neglect the programming. So let me check you guys out in the chat room real quick. Make sure y'all straight. Y'all good? Everybody good? All right, cool. I'm just checking in with you guys, making sure y'all straight in the chat room. When I share my screen, I can't really see you guys, so I want to make sure y'all good. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. I appreciate you guys and for having, a righteous, intelligent dialogue. I see you guys. That means a lot to me. So let me bring myself back up here. Now, here's the thing, right? And I want to be careful about how I say this. This is a video on T.I.'s Instagram, right? T.I. people have their various opinions about him, right? I think he's a very intelligent and astute brother. He has his issues, but who among us doesn't? I don't know all the situation about the snitching and all that stuff. Y'all don't have to really bring that up because, somebody said they had paperwork that said I was a federal agent, and that's never been actually verified or proven because it's not true. But aside from all of that, I don't know anything about that. What I do know is that T.I. is a very intelligent and astute brother. I believe that he absolutely 100% means well by our people. I believe that he has the potential to be a great leader. But I also believe that when you mix truth with falsehood, you have the potential to represent the intentions of the devil. And when I say the devil, I'm talking about a frequency and an energy, right? So when I say truth mixed with falsehood, right? I'm going to show you. This is his explicit video. But again, you can go right to his Instagram channel and you can see this like it's nothing. There was a time when the only time you would be able to see what was going on in the strip club was when you went to the strip club. I've never been to a strip club. If I wanted to go to a strip club, I would just go. Now, this is a part of the culture, right? So this is him and his wife at Magic City, I believe. Just a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago.
Hey, bro, what do you think, baby? Yeah. All right, legs.
Okay. I think we got
all right, legs.
I don't care what they do in their personal lives. That's none of my business, right? But when you take the initiative to become a leader, when you pride yourself on speaking on behalf of your people, when you pride yourself in representing your culture, you have to carry yourself in a different type of way. And he had a lot of backlash and a lot of controversy behind the statements with his daughter. I didn't really think that was such a big deal. I don't really know. I don't get involved in people's personal life like that. You know what I'm saying? I had an opinion about it, but not strong enough where I would be like, yeah, like a lot of the women that, felt some type of way about it. I thought it might've been a little extra per se. But that's his daughter. She chose him to be her father and she's acclimated to that way of life and she will grow to be, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all things work for the greater good, right? So I'm looking at this, not in his stories, but on his actual page, right? So I go through his page because I remember that he had posted this about a week ago because I liked it. You know what I'm saying? Yes, Black queens matter. Absolutely. So you represent Black queens in one breath, right? Then you put this up. So what's the probability that you have, T.I. or anybody else? Because I had a few bars for what's the brother's name? Jadena. He ended up taking a post down, but I had some bars for him on his page. I don't know if he took it down because of what I said or just because, you know, he knew he shouldn't have put it up. He was the same thing in Africa in the strip club, right? And this is a very intelligent brother who represents the culture, right? I don't understand how we don't see the schism and the problem with the overt promiscuous culture that we display to our daughters. Because if you, T.I., have 50, and 50 is a very low number because he's got millions of followers. If you have 50 young Black girls between the age of 12 to 17 that actually follow your page, which I know for a fact you do, is this appropriate behavior? The problem with a lot of our men, particularly our men in pop culture, rappers and whatnot, is that they are, let me bring myself back up here. They are used to interacting with our women from a position of ego and or a sexual nature, right? So they will take ownership and responsibility when it comes to things that they can relate to, i.e. police brutality, i.e. the prison industrial complex, i.e. Black men having to deal with issues when it comes to the system of racism, white supremacy. What they are not willing to do, and I'm not painting with a broad brush saying all of them, but a lot of them, and I'm only talking about it because they have so much power and clout in our culture. That's the only reason why I even care. The problem is they don't look to and interact with and take accountability for the danger in the type of imagery that they represent in their videos and in their content, because they can't relate to the struggle and the reality that women have to deal with. You don't know what it feels like to walk down the street and have a man slap your ass. I don't either. It's never happened to me, but I have friends who have had those experiences. When you walking through the hood and you walk through a group of grimy dudes, or you pull up at a store and you don't want to get out the store because you already know what's going to come from walking from the gas station inside the store in your own community, in your own neighborhood, up the street from your house. You don't know what that feels like to be afraid in your own community. So you want to protect your daughter. You want to make sure your daughter is taken care of, but you're very negligent and irresponsible when it comes to the type of imagery that you portray with your different platforms. That's why I say men who can't control themselves sexually cannot be trusted in in positions of leadership. Everybody gets mad when I say that, which says more about the climate and the acculturation of our culture than anything. To me, that's a very common sense statement. It's not just particular to men, it's particular to women too. So if you don't have the fortitude to understand as a culture creator, as somebody that's taking accountability for the culture, for our people, as an activist, as a freedom fighter, as a man, you want to talk about Gucci, you want to talk about racism and somebody being murdered in Wendy's, which is at Wendy's in Atlanta, that's important. We need that. But bruh, if you keep muddying the waters, and again, your personal life is none of my business, but our daughters are watching you. Celebrities, why do you think Nike pays celebrities the type of money that they pay them? Why do you think Fashion Nova pays celebrities the money that they pay them? Why do you think Cheerios and Cheetos and Rap Snacks and not Rap Snacks, I think that might be Black owned, but all of these different corporate entities, why do you think they pay celebrities to represent their products? Because they know that the influence that that celebrity has is enough for a person to go online and actually purchase that product without knowing anything about it except that Beyonce wore it, or Jay-Z wore it, or Kanye West produced it. So they know the type of influence and clout you have. So if you acknowledge that, which I know you do because you're a businessman, then why can't you acknowledge and take accountability and responsibility for the way that you conduct yourself around women, and more importantly, and I say that tongue in cheek because I don't know how you conduct yourself around women. I'm talking about the representation of what you promote on your social media platforms. Because who's to say that some young, impressionable 15-year-old girl in Atlanta that's nobody's looking out for her, nobody's watching her, nobody's taking care of her, she needs money to put food on the table, or she might be a single mother, you might end up influencing her to be one of them women that you throwing money at in a strip club. It's just a question. And I love T.I. I think T.I. is dope. You know what I'm saying? But Black men it's time for y'all to be held accountable to a higher standard. Y'all like to promote or to champion, and when I say y'all, I'm not talking about all, but we're talking about collective consciousness. There's a lot of Black men that are popular on social media for very anti-Black female rhetoric. I still haven't seen anybody hold them accountable for anything. And I feel like their peers, i.e. other brothers that are in the social media spectrum, are the ones that should be held accountable for that. But that's another story for another time. Excuse me. Nick Cannon, who I also have a lot of love and respect for, right? I'm switching gears a little bit because I wanted to get a couple of things as far as celebrity culture and things that have been happening and things that people wanted to get my perspective on. Excuse me. The Nick Cannon situation, right? Nick Cannon speaks out on his controversial interview. I want to be corrected. I think this slide might be out of place, but I'm gonna roll with it. So here's the thing about Nick Cannon, right? And here's the thing about, oh, actually it's not out of place because now I remember the correlation I wanted to make, right? If somebody had, Nick Cannon reads a lot of books, right? He's very proficient in his tutelage and in his schooling, and I have a lot of respect for him because he is very active in our community and because he does a lot more than just, you know, podcasts and talking, etc. And there's nothing that he's done that warrants, you know, him being canceled. I think a lot of y'all, this whole cancel culture thing, especially the people that be online talking the most shit, if we put your life up under up under a magnifying glass, you know what I'm saying, and started qualifying you based on the things that you say or the things that you do, you know what I'm saying, a lot of y'all would be up for cancel 3 times or 10 times over, right? I don't believe in that. You can't cancel a human being. We make mistakes, we say the wrong thing, we get off course, and then we come back and we figure it out and we keep going. That's a part of life, right? But I wish that Nick Cannon had the proper understanding through all of the books that he's read to be able to express this whole situation with this anti-Semitism thing. It didn't really have to be so controversial if he had the proper understanding. Anti-Semitism is a conversation about religion, right? But they make it seem like it's about race, right? No, it's about religion, but they make it seem like it's about, it's about religion. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. It's about religion, right? But they don't talk about the fact that there is a race counterpart to this, meaning the original Ethiopians who are the real Hebrews, right? If we're going to talk about somebody being anti-Semitic, then we have to bring the fact that these are the original Hebrews, the original Israelites, who are our people who originally come from Ethiopia, many of whom are in Israel right now, being mistreated, being abused. I wish Nick Cannon had had the fortitude or the courage, and maybe he will, during his interview with the rabbi or somewhere down the line, where he would have actually said, well, what's the situation with the Ethiopian Jews in Israel right now? Why are they being so mistreated and so abused? Are those the original people? When we say anti-Semitism, are we talking about a religion? Because if we're talking about a religion, then that means that all Jews, right? Nick Cannon was talking about white Jews, specifically Ashkenazi Jews, which I don't think he said, but That's what he was talking about, but he didn't really have the proper understanding to try to make the statement that he was making. But if he had contextualized that and said, well, there are segments or sections of what we know as Judaism, Jews, right? Are we talking about the religion, or are we talking about a racial aspect, right? But this is important because these are brothers that are moving the culture either forward or keeping it stagnant, or using their platforms to try to raise and elevate our consciousness, right? So if we as a people and as a culture have the proper understanding of that, then we can come and have Nick Cannon's back and help him to fortify that language and that conversation without him having to go into apology mode, without him having to be canceled in our culture, right? This is the way that we have to start moving collectively, even if he does drop the ball. It's all good, Nick. This is what you should have said. Anti-Semitism is an anomaly within itself, because who are the real Semites and why are they even called Semites from the beginning, right? Tamar Braxton, she's been in the headlines as of late, but she put up a tweet when she was right before, I believe, she tried to attempt suicide. She said, I'm not a slave. I am a slave. I do not own my life, my stories, my pictures, my thoughts, or beliefs. I've asked my master to free me. I'm threatened and punished for it. The only way I see out is death. I will choose that before I continue to live like this. Please help me, right? The reason why I am talking about this and why I am emphasizing specifically certain situations with Black celebrities is because we as a people, our culture, we're way too inundated with these people, with their lives, with their mistakes, with their traumas. You know what I'm saying? And that energy is not reciprocated. You know what I mean? So when I said in a previous video, demigods or gods next to God, right? Somebody said in one of the comments that I'm giving them too much credit by referring to them as demigods. It was a play on words when I said that, and it still is. But it's talking about representing aspects and entities and worshiping aspects and entities outside of yourself. And anytime you give the type of attention that we give to celebrity culture, our people, but then we don't defend the people that really deserve to be defended, and that the relationship is not reciprocated, right? We rarely see celebrities call out small mom and pop's business. Hey, I got 50 million followers. Everybody go donate $1 to so-and-so. And people would do it overnight. People would do it immediately. Certain celebrities that have major platforms could call shots and people would respond immediately. They could raise money without even having to spend their money at will, right? So it's a non-reciprocal relationship. You buy their content, you watch their shows, you spend your money on their albums, their records, you stream whatever, which they are providing a service, they are providing, so that's a balanced equal give and take, right? They're providing a service, they're providing merchandise, they're providing content, right? But the minute that it goes a step further is when we're online ready to go to war with one another behind our impressions or opinions about these people that we do not know, that are not involved in our personal lives, that would not step over a rock. You understand what I'm saying? To assist us in the things that we're the regular, average, everyday man, right? You got Rick Ross, who I follow, every other day posting his house and his cars, and I'm good with it because I have a mindset of abundance. I like to see people doing well, especially our people. And I know Rick Ross does a lot for our community and for our culture, and he's a business owner, right? But I also know that he probably has people that are following him that don't know where their next meal is coming from. You understand what I'm saying? Having the wherewithal and the understanding of your responsibility to the collective consciousness is a different level of spiritual awareness that most celebrities are not operating from. They don't have to do anything besides live their life. But the minute you step into the limelight of hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag this is for the culture, hashtag Black Queens Matter, you have a different level of accountability. There's a different standard for you, right? So Let me check you guys in the chat room real quick. Y'all good? Okay, there we go. Y'all good in the chat room? Looks good. It's good, Miss Kia. You'll be able to go back and rewatch it again. It looks like my video is still clear. Y'all straight? All right, cool. I'm not gonna go too much longer. Let me see how many slides I have left to go. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward through some of this stuff because I think I've kind of made my point about some of these things, and I still have a few things I need to show you guys though, right? There's this video called, I forget what the original video is titled. It's on Sonetter's channel, right? But this is two brothers that are talking about the importance of ejaculation or being sexually disciplined, right, for men. And they're talking about Montauk Chia's teachings that talk about ejaculation and that talk about the importance of preserving the semen outside of, the creating life aspect of it, but preserving your semen because of the connection that it has to the sperm and the brain power or brain fluid. I'm gonna play a little bit of it, maybe about 2 minutes, and then I want to make a point on the other side. By the way, this video I have it saved on Instagram. So if you guys want to see the whole video, it's like 10 minutes. Just send me a DM and I'll send you the link.
Getting the best enjoyment from busting off. And that's totally degenerative, my dude. You are not supposed to be busting off when you have sex unless you want seeds. Your sperm is the quintessence of life. It has, it's the most precious thing on the planet, So you gotta be able to breathe from your lower abdomen and rechannel that energy back up to your higher centers. Because when you bust off, you're pulling on energy from all your vital organs. So if you're able to recycle that energy, it actually charges you back up.
Dr. Ann Brown told me at one of the lectures I did, the fallen angels, return of the ancient ones, she was sitting in there and we was going over, and I was speaking on the fact that that semen is brain fluid. 21% cerebral fluid is in your semen. 21%. That means that you're pulling energy from your brain in order to produce semen. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going into the creativity and the intellectual level of the child that you attempted to create into existence.
And also check this out. You think.
So look, thank you to the brothers who sent the Cash App. I appreciate you guys, much love. And anybody that has added a super chat, I haven't been following the chat so I can, stay on point, but I love and appreciate you guys so much. And thank you for supporting what I do. And just as far as this particular subject, I wrote a workbook called The Science of Sex with specifically talking about the things that they're talking about in this video. But the reason why this is important, right? One thing I want to say, one little caveat. He said that you should not be ejaculating unless you want seeds. There's a little caveat to that, right? Because technically a woman can only get pregnant 6 days out of a month, right? So outside of that window of time, a man and a woman can have sexual intercourse with a man ejaculating and emitting seed with a woman where there is no birth that's being, there's no child that's being involved. So science and nature set it up where men and women can have sexual relationships without a child actually being produced, right? That's the one little caveat, but what he's saying and the value in what he's saying is very important, right? And I put this clip in here because we have our brothers that are speaking about sex from a scientific and spiritual perspective, and them taking ownership and responsibility of a deeper level of respect and understanding for sex. Where is the conversation from women, from us? And I'm doing my part, right? But I'm talking about the collective consciousness. Where's the, what happens when a woman actually is too sexually promiscuous? What does that do to the anatomy of her body? What is that doing? When a woman is overtly promiscuous or too sexual, is it affecting the way that she thinks or the way that she moves in the world or her decision making skills? If she is having sex with a man who is violent or who is mentally unstable or who is emotionally unwell, what are the repercussions in real time for what can and will happen to her? Where's the collective conversation for us as women? Understanding sex from a spiritual perspective. Why is nothing sacred in our communities anymore? Why don't we value our bodies to an extent where we can sit down and be like, sis, I'm telling you, now is the time. You just got out of a relationship. The last thing you need to be doing is bed hopping. You keep attracting the same man over and over. Maybe you need to sit down and close your legs for a minute. Your mother has a bad history with men. You've seen her be abused and misused. Maybe you should take a cue from that and relax a little bit on trying to get out into the world and deal with men when you don't have a proper emotionally stable connection to the opposite sex. Where's our conversation? Where's our collective conversation? Taking sex back to a spiritual, sacred perspective. And not just I can do what I want to do with my body. I'm taking back sexual control. So I'm gonna put my ass in the camera for the world to see. And the question is rhetorical because that's how we have to start thinking and how we have to start moving as women. This sister, and I said in the last video, right, that the biggest issue while we're having a lot of conversations about what's the most important focus, and while there are many focuses for us to converse on, the male-female dichotomy in the Black community has to be paramount, not just who you're involved with, but how we interact and treat one another, i.e. TI and your broader responsibility to our culture, right? This sister, her name was Sansaray. I hope I'm saying it right. I didn't follow her. I didn't know her. I never had any interactions with her. I learned about her story after the fact of what she experienced, right? This is a sister who, and I looked through some of her videos. I know we probably would have not agreed on some things, you know what I'm saying? But I don't agree with everybody on anything. Nobody agrees with everybody on anything, right? So that doesn't really matter to me. And you don't have to write me and tell me, well, she said this about Black men, or she said this about this, and this sister committed suicide, 39 years young. She had been in an ongoing battle with some very prominent, and when I say prominent, I only mean that in terms of social media followers, right? She had been in some scuffles publicly, right, with some people of the opposite sex, right? And I know I've been in some scuffles with some people, some very prominent in the social media world, scuffles with some people of the opposite sex that look like us, right? So I know the type of weight that comes with that, because the peons have legions of peons that follow them. Did I say peons? I mean people. The peasants, the people, I'm being facetious. These people have legions of followers that are in alignment in the same frequency, which is a very anti-Black woman, anti-female sentiment, right? It's a mother of two. My question is, and she had a pretty big following, I think 45,000 followers or something like that. My question is, if we can stand up for Megan Thee Stallion, right? Why can't we stand up for her? Where's the backlash for people putting all her personal business online and attacking her in such a virulent, vigilant way that she took her life? We don't have a collective culture and a collective consciousness that protects our women. And it's reflected through social media. So anybody that followed her, even her family, because I haven't really seen anybody talking about this situation and the dangers of the lynch mob crowd through social media and the dangers of this very low vibrational, low frequency energy through social media and how it's cast upon a lot of our women. There's no collective response. And I particularly hold brothers who are on social media, who are social media influencers. This is their thing, right? They would be the ones that would step up for these type of women. Just like men in corporate world, and men in the corporate world would be the ones that would step up for the sisters who are being disrespected in the corporate world. Just like men who are electricians or who are carpenters who see women being disrespected in their world would step up for their women. So this is you know what I'm saying? Your peer group is supposed to come to your aid, right? We talk about protect Black women. We talk about honoring our women. Where is the reflection or accountability or acknowledgement for the level of disrespect that you would have to be put into in order to take your own life? And this social media, I just want to tell you guys, for anybody who is, you know, thinking about having a social media platform or whatnot, like, this ain't no joke. You got to have thick skin for this. You got to have really, 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 really thick skin to endure what it takes, especially if you are, you know, if you're passionate or if you have strong opinions. Somebody came on the other video and said something like, how can you speak with such authority? Who do you think you are? This woman, you know, like I'm trying to have authority over anyone else other than myself. That bothers people, that I speak with authority, not because I'm trying to cast it or project it on them, but because I know who I am. So I speak with authority over myself, right? So this was a very opinionated and strong sister, right, who was using her platform to try to raise the consciousness in whatever capacity. And she was dragged through social media for what looked like 2 years. There was no intervention from our men, our culture, period. And she ended up committing suicide. And I don't know all the details, but I did want to, I've been meaning to talk about her story, but I could never remember her name in my other videos. And I wanted to pay proper respect to her and to her family and to her children as well. It was a very, very, very sad story that just did not have to happen and that should not be tolerated in our community, period. So let me stop my share real quick. Check you guys out. How y'all doing? She drugged Black men. Rest in peace, though. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Hold on, did I stop my share? Yeah. I looked through her videos. I didn't see her dragging Black men. I did see her probably voicing some things that may have rubbed some Black men wrong. And again, I didn't see the equivalent of what she said and the backlash. Like, you can have opinions about certain things. She is deceased. She is. I wouldn't talk about something on my channel unless I actually like went back and really, really made sure of what I was talking about. Unless you know something I don't know, from what I see, she's actually deceased. But when we talk about this, the give and take, right? Again, you make my point. Trigger man, IBMR. If we say things that we don't agree with, that should not justify a lynch mob. This is all, everybody on here is just giving their perspectives and their opinions. The fact that we actually think that it's appropriate, and I'm not saying you specifically, but the fact that we actually think that it's appropriate for our women, or anybody for that matter, to get dragged like that, and is a very, 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 very difficult situation to be in. It's just a problem. Somebody said she never dragged Black men ever. She loved them. And you know what, KK? People have said that about me before. You hate Black men, you know, and you know what I'm saying? So I can see how somebody would say that and it would not be true. You know what I mean? But my point again is that the innuendos in our communities, the male-female dichotomy, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something to this that has to be addressed and that needs to be really, really focused on and really, really fine-tuned. Being trolled on the internet is not a lynch mob. Yes, it is. I've been through it before. You don't know what it feels like to be under a spiritual attack. You don't know what it feels like to wake up and to see people calling you out of your name and disrespecting you. You know what I'm saying? And if you've never experienced it, then you can't really say what it is or what it isn't, right? So let me get back on my just making sure y'all straight in the chat room. I'm almost done, you guys. I'm not going to go too much longer here. Rape culture is not a man problem. It's a human problem. And from that perspective, my question for us as women and our culture in general is, if we've been under 500 plus years of oppression and abuse, raped, forced to have children by men that hated us, that disrespected us, and all of the above. I'm talking about Black women, African women, right? Melanated women around the world. The question is, why can't we stop and turn within and kind of have a reset for the male-female dichotomy and how we interact culturally with our men? And that's not a question for the Cardi B's or the Meg Thee Stallions of the world. They are doing, exercising their free will. And like I said before, there's a consequence to, especially right now when there's the spiritual focus is so heavy right now. Hearts are so heavy. People are so scared. You know what I'm saying? Worried about jobs, worried about fires, worried about what they're eating, like mass fear-based consciousness. And the only thing that two Black women can come and bring to the world is WAP. That's such a cultural embarrassment to me. I know y'all say Cardi B ain't Black. I don't want to get into all of that. But the two prominent women, right, with very big platforms, with the potential to have very big impacts with everything that's happening in the world, and understanding that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, where the world is going to come back to the center and be balanced from the masculine and feminine perspective. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about masculine and feminine perspective, consciousness, and energy, right? Which plays itself out through the genders, right? So all of us are under divine judgment. All of us, whatever it is that we fear the most, or that we are most attached to in a negative way, or how our demons or our low vibrations or our frequencies play themselves out, right? We're all having to sit in our proverbial corners of the world to do what most of us run from our whole entire lives, which is run from who we really are, right? So the whole world is under divine judgment, and this is what our culture is producing. There are repercussions that will come with that. And it will be on an individual level, but culturally right now, if we don't get a hold of this perverted energy where sexuality is being weaponized, I think I'm going to do a part 2, because I'm at 2 hours right now, and I could technically separate this political. I think I'm going to split this in 2, because I haven't even got to politics yet. Let's see. But sexuality being weaponized now, right? And if you were making music that was elevating the consciousness, that would be one thing. Or if you had 5 songs on your album that might be a little risque, but then you balanced it out with 5 other songs that were dropping some jewels, or that were, women's empowerment based on their real power, which is their mind and their heart, right? Then there may be a leg for you to stand on. But the fact that this is what we have to offer the world right now is very embarrassing, and it's corny to me. And to all of the women who write me and try to defend this madness, you are blatantly disrespecting our daughters, and you are negligent and irresponsible when it comes to the young girls that are coming up behind us, that are growing up in the social media era, right? That log on to Instagram first thing when they wake up, and log on to Instagram first thing before they go to sleep. I don't want to talk about the parents, because then tomorrow you'll tell me it takes a village. What happened to the village? If it takes a village, then stop telling me it's up to the parents. Where's the village? You understand what I'm saying? Because Cardi B's daughter, I'm sure, has a village. And how would she feel if her, well, she might actually, that's, yeah. All right. This is from 2017.
The FBI rescues dozens of children, including some right here in Metro Atlanta, who were caught up in the sex trade business.
You know, the nationwide operation called Operation Cross Country spanned 3 days, and it led to over 100 arrests. Fox 5's Morse Diggs is live at the Atlanta FBI field office with the details for us. Morse?
Well, Atlanta leaders have a lot that they can tout that is proud and good things, positive about our city. But one thing that they're not proud about is the fact that the child sex trade continues to thrive here. So there was little doubt when agents across the street here participated in this nationwide roundup that they would recover some children.
So I'm gonna stop that there, right? So I have another video clip, but just child sex trade. I don't know if y'all saw the video that's going around of the black man and the black woman that had their daughter in the garage that beat her. And now everybody's like, is this appropriate or not? Which is a stupid question within itself. I think the child may have been removed from that household. I'm not sure. But the fact that we're actually like passing this around and talking about whether or not this was appropriate, and this man sitting on top of this 14-year-old little black girl and disrespecting her and hitting her on camera, right? Divine judgment. But child sex trade in Atlanta. This is 2017, right?
Now to a story that has been trending online all day. Dozens of missing children rescued in Georgia during a sweeping sex trafficking bust. This was a 2-week operation that netted a handful of arrests.
Law enforcement agencies here in Houston are all too familiar with human trafficking. It is a problem that they've been targeting for years.
And tonight, police say the Georgia operation is a reminder for parents to be aware of their children's activities, especially online.
Vincent Crivelli is live in Southwest Houston tonight with this very important message. Vincent?
Chris, that's right. Authorities say that parents need to know with the coronavirus pandemic, children are spending more time online and human trafficking is up. 39 children located and safe after an operation led by the U.S. Marshals in Georgia.
First of all, it's great news, but it's also deeply disturbing that this can still happen.
Founder of Justice for Children and former Harris County Chief Prosecutor Randy Burton.
Sex trafficking like that happening in Houston? Oh, without a doubt. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're considered one of the largest hubs.
And he's sounding the alarm for parents. He says they need to monitor their children's activity online to prevent human trafficking.
We've actually had a 19% increase in human trafficking cases of children here in my agency.
Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen says, due to the coronavirus pandemic, children are spending more time online, which is a predator's paradise.
If a parent finds something suspicious, what action should they take?
Well, first of all, they should try to document everything. And if it does rise to the level of potential criminality, contact law enforcement.
And he says parents need to vet who their children are spending time with, as well as keep an open line of communication.
They have to be engaged. They have to have that talk with their children.
And Burton went on to say that parents need to remember to be parents, not necessarily friends of their children. Reporting live from the Children's Assessment Center, Vincent Crivelli, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Now, my question is this. Where are the marches and the protesting and the celebrities and the collective consciousness, not just Black people, but just child sex trafficking? There's children that are being snatched off the streets, that are being sold off and raped on a continuous basis, probably in an ongoing capacity on a day-to-day basis, right? Why are we not outraged? Why have Jay-Z and Beyonce and Kanye West and Rihanna and Will Smith and Denzel Washington and Oprah Winfrey and whoever else you can think of, right? If they were going to band together and discuss or bring light or bring attention to something, Why wouldn't this be the top of our priority list? I'm gonna give you my assessment in just a second. I'm making a point here. Just bear with me.
In addition to all the upheavals caused by the pandemic, social unrest, and heightened political turbulence, Amna Nawaz reports this summer is also shaping up to be a bloody one in our cities and neighborhoods.
From New York to California, Atlanta to Chicago, a July 4th weekend interrupted by gun violence, leaving dozens, including children, dead.
Enough is enough.
In Atlanta, 31 people shot and 5 killed, including 8-year-old Sequoia Turner. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Bottoms.
We are shooting each other up on our streets in this city, and you shot and killed a baby. And it wasn't one shooter, there were at least 2 shooters. An 8-year-old baby.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp moved in the National Guard in response. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., 11-year-old Davon McNeil was killed at a cookout aimed at preventing violence. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
This should not have happened, and it cannot keep happening. We can't keep losing our children to senseless gun violence.
And in Chicago, 87 people shot over the weekend and 17 killed. Among them, 7-year-old Natalia Wallace, struck by a stray bullet while playing outside.
There were kids riding by on bicycles, as we said, enjoying a 4th of July, as they should have been. And now this child is gone.
As some cities see a spike in gun violence this summer, the reasons why are now the subject of debate. In New York City, where 64 people were shot over the weekend and June homicides hit their highest since 1996, Mayor Bill de Blasio blamed the pandemic.
And it's directly related to all the dislocation that's happened over these last 4 months with the coronavirus.
Others.
All right, so there's a couple of things that are happening, and I know I've talked about this before. During the summertime, and this is just a side note that I want to make. During summertime, there is a high level of melanin activation for our people, particularly Black men. That activation, right? That energy has to be cultivated and it has to be expressed, right? So we have to have community centers, we have to have arts and crafts centers, we have to have community organizations, right? That have studios, that have places where they can go and express the creativity within them. When there's no place to express it and you're living in a place of depression, of poverty, of stress, right? Of fear, nonstop violence, the melanin still gets activated, but now it's rooted in the lower self. So now it's the lower self that's expressing itself, opposed to the melanin activation that can write that can create a world-renowned piece of art or a statue, or give a brother wings and he can do some sort of fantastic movement with his body to dunk, or create a dope tennis shoe, or making drum beats with buckets, all the fly stuff that we do, the spray painting, the graffiti, all the fly stuff that we do, right? Braiding hair, you know what I'm saying? Makeup artists, all of that. That's all our culture. That's all representations of us being creatively progressive, right? When you can't express that aspect of yourself, that melanin, that energy, that activation gets perverted, and now the lower self is what's expressing itself, right? That's the science, right? I personally believe, and this is just I'm going to get into this a little bit more when I talk about in the next video, when I talk about the scientific war. I personally believe that chemtrails is being used as an agent of expressing or releasing biological agents. I believe that that's been a part of what's happened with COVID-19. And I also believe that that's been an ongoing thing that's been happening with certain things that have happened in our community, right? I don't want to get too deep in that because I'll go way left. But that's what they're doing with chemtrails, right? You guys that want to argue with me about whether that's true or not, they're actually releasing aluminum particles and metal particulates into our upper atmosphere that start at 30,000, 40,000 feet above our heads, and that we end up breathing it in. So then the question is, well, would they actually put something in there that would particularly affect a certain population or target a certain population? That's a different question. But the real question is, why weren't we outraged when that 8-year-old girl in Atlanta was killed? Why weren't we outraged when that 11-year-old was killed in DC? Why weren't we outraged when that 7-year-old was killed in Chicago? This was 2 months ago. So when people come to me and say, stop all that Zen talk, stop all that spiritual talk, stop all that emotion, the power of emotions, we don't want to hear that. We need to talk about money. We need to talk about getting these crackers out of our community. People say slick stuff to me like that all the time. The reason why having a spiritual and an emotionally grounded perspective, or people that use their platforms to talk about the importance of the mind-heart connection, we have a heart problem in our community. We have a heart disease. We have a cultural lack of emotion, lack of compassion, and lack of empathy for one another. Now, let me make this point. Let me bring this full circle, right? I'm almost done. I'm not going to get into the politics. I'm going to stop. I think I might have 2 or 3 more slides, but I want to close this out and make this point. George Floyd's GoFundMe for his daughter is at 2.35 million. Wonderful. We should support that brother. We should support his daughter. We should support his family. Absolutely no, I have no qualms about that. Jacob Blake, his GoFundMe is at 2.2 million. No qualms about that. He's got babies. They'll be taken care of for the rest of their life. His family will be taken care of. Any money that they need as far as, excuse me, as far as legal fees, all of that's going to be taken care of. We should do that 100%. My question for us is, if these brothers had put up a GoFundMe to start a business, would we have supported them? See, we like to support each other through suffering. We support each other through struggle. We support each other when the white man get in our business, when the white man does something wrong to us, when there is an injustice. We don't support each other naturally, honestly, authentically, when there is no enemy. We support each other through suffering. We talk about our men when they're suffering, when they're struggling, when the police are doing them wrong, when they're doing them harm, which we should. But would you have supported this brother if he asked for your help to start a business? I'm asking that question individually and collective. We have a heart problem. We have an empathy problem. We have a compassion problem. So for people that say to me, we don't want to hear all that spiritual talk. You had to talk about guns. You better talk about technology. But we have brothers and sisters that are trying to get on, that are trying to lead the life, that don't want to be in certain environments, in certain situations, and we won't even support them. We have a heart problem. We have a compassion problem. We have an empathy problem. And there's a real serious issue with the fact that collectively as a culture, we only support each other through suffering. That's a problem. So when I say divine judgment, let me bring myself back up. So when I say that collectively, right, as a people, we are under divine judgment, this is what I'm talking about. We won't support each other when we're trying to get to the next level or trying to do right. And I'm not talking about you probably, individually, you probably do. I'm not talking about individual, I'm talking about collectively. Can you imagine if we had put 2.2 million in Jacob Blake's pocket to start a business? How come our celebrities won't use their platforms, not their money, their platforms, to bring awareness to sex trafficking and our children being snatched off the streets? Bring awareness to single mothers that can't afford food. Hey, I got 50 million followers. I need everybody to send $1 here. Can you imagine if Rihanna actually did that? She would raise the money in 30 minutes. And I know Rihanna does a lot, so I'm not singling her out. She does a lot. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, there are some things here that are, there's some chains that are missing in the link. There's some links that are missing in the chain. I'm going to come back and do the rest of this. I'm going to find this one. All things are being revealed. So what does that mean for us? That's the time that we're living in right now. That's the prophecy, right? All things are being revealed. All things that have been done in the light, done in the dark, are coming to light. So what does that mean for our culture? What does that mean for our communities? All of the molestations and the rapes that happen in our households and in our families that we don't talk about, that we let, you know what I'm saying? That generational damage that's happening to us that we never actually focus on. Men walking out of the household and leaving children, and the culture never really addressing the fact that we have a man issue in our communities. That doesn't mean we don't have good, righteous Black men, because I know plenty. But as a culture, we have a man issue. Collectively. A man issue, meaning there are too many things that are happening under the guise of manhood that represent fuckery, that are getting a pass. And the sister that I just talked about, she killed herself. And I literally just had a brother in my chat room telling me that she was disrespecting Black men, and somebody else came and said, no, she wasn't. She took her life. Don't tell me it wasn't a lynch mob. You don't know what it feels like to be up under that type of heat, where people are disrespecting you and calling you out of your name. And people went and researched her life and contacted her children's father and were digging all into her personal background and talking about her personal life, her personal situation. That's a spiritual and emotional lynch mob. Well, we didn't even have to say none of that. Just have empathy for just let's just have a conversation about reconnecting male-female dichotomy. It's not even about proving who's right or who's wrong. We all got work we got to do. So if all things are being revealed, i.e. the mirage of what we think about celebrity culture, all of that's toppling. Because you see people who are worth millions that are completely losing their minds. You understand what I'm saying? White people now who have never really experienced real struggle and real suffering and real oppression, it's at your door now. That's divine judgment. But even beyond white people, right? The only finger pointing that there can be right now to move yourself as an individual and the collective consciousness forward has to be within. So if I have to look within as a woman, and you have to look within as a man, and you have to look within as a woman, what does the look within as a collective culture look like? What does the let's sit down at the table and stop talking about white people for a minute and talk about ourselves look like? We have a heart problem. We have an empathy problem. We have a compassion problem. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I thought I had one more specific slide. Oh, is that it? Oh, no, here it is. All right, I'm going to leave you guys with this. You teach people how to treat you, right? That's a we can all agree on that anomaly, right? We can have a common consensus. You teach people how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. Can we agree with that? Is that Okay, so how are we teaching the world, teaching police officers, teaching white people, teaching institutions, teaching government, teaching foreign lands, other races and nationalities and ethnicities? How are we teaching them to treat us based on the way we treat ourselves? How does the world, what kind of consensus does the world have about Black women based on what they see in popular culture? We like to talk about the Venus Hottentot, right? And rightfully so. The sister from South Africa was paraded around because she had a big butt and because she had big breasts, paraded around for Europeans to make fun of her. And we now have a culture that embodies the same thing that Europeans inflicted on our women for 400 and plus years. And now we represent that, and we will fight you for the right to be what the white man created. Patriarchy created the strip club. Am I lying? Patriarchy created the strip club. Is that a far-fetched anomaly? Am I way off subject? So the white man created certain schisms and isms and have everybody looking at you just based on how your body looks and having sex with you, and you think that's your only real value. And now we as women fight for the right to be seen that way, which means that 10 years from now and 20 years from now and 50 years from now, our collective consciousness is going to pay a hell of a price. Our collective culture is going to pay a hell of a price, because consciousness creates reality. So if we have a collective consciousness of young women, right? And women that are vibrating on a whole frequency, that are vibrating from that mindset, selling prostitution in records, and you champion that shit. These women are promoting prostitution. Let's be clear. Let's stop playing games with what's really happening here. We have a culture now that is promoting promiscuity, that is promoting prostitution, that is promoting getting over on men. You understand what I'm saying? And I know some of y'all know, if you come from the type of environment that I grew up in Oakland, California, right? We know what comes with the hood. The white man did not create strippers or strip clubs. That's just convenient. Nah, we did that. Prostitution started, this is why I don't read the chats, right? Because I'll be all over the place. Prostitution started in Europe. You know what I'm saying? And everything kind of rolled back from there. So, the point was not for me to pinpoint Black men, because I'm purely 100% talking about self-accountability. But prostitution started in Europe, right? And everything kind of trickled back from there. But like I've said before, we had African kings in Europe, at the height of the Moorish culture, the Almoravids, one of the particular Moorish kings had 5,000 concubines. This is the African king, 5,000 concubines in Europe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to make this about the white man, but you know, if we're gonna be factual about it, we got to be factual about it, right? So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. I didn't want to go over 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna have to do like a part 2.5. And I'm gonna have to do like a part 2.5 and talk about politics, or maybe I'll roll that into the part 3. That's what I'll do. Much love for the super chat. I think I saw you. David, oh, much love, brother. I appreciate you always. I'll roll the politics into part 3, where I talk about the science. But one thing I did want to talk about the fact that Cardi B is interviewing Joe Biden and like becoming a staple figure, right? And everybody can change. I'm not judging her, but if you go to her Instagram page, she's clearly on that whole frequency, stripper frequency. She's not a stripper anymore, but she's clearly still a stripper. She's definitely selling sex. You have to qualify yourself to be able to sit at the table with heads of state, or at least you did at one point in time, right? You have to qualify yourself in a righteous society to be able to sit in front of people and have a conversation about morality and about politics and about, you know, the importance of the things that create civilizations. You have to qualify yourself to be able to sit in those rooms. She's not qualified. That's no disrespect. She can give her opinion about whatever. She's funny. She's, you know what I'm saying? She can talk about whatever she wants to. But the fact that your government has chosen to use this woman is a mockery and an insult to you. That you actually, this is what they think that it takes. What it takes to program you is for you to sit down with somebody who is extremely sexually explicit, right? Leading our culture, right? But now she's sitting down and talking to heads of state. Joe Biden was a former vice president. So whether he gets elected or not, this man is a head of state. He is a part of the United States government. This is who you chose to sit down and have this conversation with. Not, who can I think of? Angela Rye, right? I think she's a dope sister. Who else? I'm trying to think of Black women that are in political commentators. What's the sister's name? Dana something. There's another sister that has a show on him, right? There's plenty of qualified, intellectual Black women that have earned the right to sit down and have these conversations. So now after you have the conversation, okay, where's her YouTube channel? Oh, okay, let me go to her YouTube. Let me go to her YouTube. Let me go to her Instagram. Oh, this sister's dope. I like her. She's inspiring and motivating me. I'm learning new things about being a woman, about being an intellectual, about politics, not learning how to shake my ass. This is programming. I'm gonna leave you with that. She's not qualified. And the concubines are leading our culture now. The queens are not leading the culture. Let's be clear. The concubines are leading the culture, and shame on those of our brothers that are in positions of power in hip hop and in music, and even our women too, but specifically our men that are championing this shit and making our daughters and our women think that this is what it takes to get that type of man. That's the way the brain works. That's the way the heart works. Much love, Persia. I appreciate you for the super chat. ZazaAli.com is my website. I have 2 books, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs, where I talk about chemtrails, genetically modified food, HARP, geoengineering. I released that book in 2015. 2016, I released Plagues of Dysfunction, talking about what I'm talking about now, internal reflection and self-confidence and self-accountability. I've written 3 metaphysics workbooks, The Science of Sex and The Science of Self, The Power of the Mind, and Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance. So everything that I talk about on my platforms, I have created content that will arm the people that are actually trying to change or trying to be informed or trying to be aware, that will arm you with the information to move towards a higher state of consciousness and a higher state of self-love. ZazaAli.com is my website, and the link is in the description, so you can go right to the page where all of my merchandise and content is. Much love. I appreciate you guys for riding with me again for 2.5 hours. And like I said, I will roll that political conversation into the part 3, which I'm going to talk about the scientific intervention in our affairs and the mask situation, COVID-19, and what I think is really, like I said, there's something really evil and vindictive that's happening behind the scenes. So if you are still operating from a business as usual perspective, then you have 100% missed the message, right? So ZazaAli.com, it's my website. I love y'all. I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you guys for the chat room. It looks like it stayed civilized. It looked like the conversation stayed righteous, whether you agree with me or not. The main thing for me is that, you know, we maintain a civilized level of energy and authenticity. So much love, Jules. I appreciate you for the super chat. Y'all be, you know what I'm saying? Be mindful of your energy, be mindful of your words. And this is a great and dreadful day. Dreadful only if you are not internally focused. Great if you are focused on your mental well-being, your emotional countenance, and the heart frequency. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Peace and love.